Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Hare Krishna. I would like to welcome all the viewers again on this continuing series of discussions on a very important topic of reading Srila Prabhupada's books every day. Its significance for our personal sadhana and its importance for international society for Krishna consciousness. Today we have the privilege to have with us a guest who has based his whole life, his whole sadhana with the foundation of Srila Prabhupada's books. The devotee we are going to speak today is a very esteemed member of ISKCON. He is a governing body commissioner, GBC member, and under his leadership, he has helped develop many, many temples, more than 20, 30 temples in a very important state of India. Amongst the various responsibilities, which I can go on a long list, but the essence is we have with us a person today who's going to help us realize the importance of Srila Prabhupada's books. On that note, I'd like to welcome His Grace Revati Raman Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Tapan Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for inviting me. Hare Krishna to everybody.
Revati Raman Prabhu, thank you for giving us the time to speak to you today. Revati Raman Prabhu, in the past, in our conversations, we touched upon how Srila Prabhupada's books has touched your life so deeply. But today, first time we get an opportunity to talk about it in more details. I would like to know from you, Revati Raman Prabhu, what was the first time that you came in touch with Srila Prabhupada's books?
Hare Krishna, Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Anantakoti Vaishnava ki jai.
Jai.
So Prabhupada books, what can I say? Is so special, so special. One book of Srila Prabhupada changed my life. That is Science of Self-Realization in the year 1988. I was just watching one TV program about Ramanujam, one of the greatest mathematicians in the world from Chennai. But 200 years back, he was in India. He's supposed to be one of the most wonderful mathematicians. It is a documentary I was just watching. He's from a Brahmana family from South India, Orthodox, very Orthodox family. But he was obsessed with mathematics. As a small boy, always to do a lot of mathematics in Lord Nrsimhadev temple. I was just having my food and watching this program, documentary. Then this small boy, 5 years, round face with a big three tilak, Srivasana tilak, big shika, doing a lot of calculations on the wall of Lord Nrsimhadev temple. I was just watching, very curious. And in the school, he's always very busy with mathematics. He's not interested in his language or English or anything, only maths. He's questioning his teacher, how did Aryabhatta invented zero? Why Bhaskaracharya came with this theorem? But when he comes to 10th standard, he fails in maths. Then he gets the paper and he's doing some research work. Since he fails, he cannot continue his college. Those days it was like that. He was working in an English company. One afternoon, his English company's boss, an Englishman, during the lunchtime, he sees Ramanujam doing some busy calculations. He'll say, hey, what is this? Who taught you all this? Sir, that's my hobby. That's my hobby. Oh, I see. That's your hobby. So nice. can I have these papers? You see, and he's flabbergasted. He sends these papers to London to Mr. Hardy, then one of the most famous mathematician in the world. Hardy sees the papers and tells Ramanuja, tells the Englishman here down India, send that Indian immediately to London. This boy is not ordinary.
Correct.
So the great difficulty they convinced Ramanujam, send him to London. There will sit with the big mathematicians.
Yes.
And he says, he shows all his mathematics. And where they had concluded, that is the end of the mathematics. From there, Ramanujam has started something new theorems. So, but this person is so attached to Bhagavad Gita.
Oh.
The leisure hours, he sit and read Bhagavad Gita. So once he was reading the Bhagavad Gita in a hospital, he was sick bit. So Hardy enters. Oh, Ramanujam, what are you reading? He says, I am reading about God. Oh, God. What God says in that book? He says, God says life is zero. What do you mean life is zero? Birth, death, old age, disease, birth, death, old age, disease, this is life in the material world. Oh, it's something like Bible? Yes, sir. It's something like Bible. In India, we call it as Bhagavad Gita. And he takes the book and holds to his chest and says, sir, without Bhagavad Gita, there's no life for me. I will die without this book. Oh, I see. That inspired me to read Bhagavad Gita. I told one of my friends, get me a Bhagavad Gita, English Bhagavad Gita. Then he got me SSR, Science of Self-Realization of Srila Prabhupada. Then he gave me Science of Self-Realization. I said, no, I want Bhagavad Gita. He told me, my friend told me, you read this book, this will prepare you to read Bhagavad Gita. Reluctantly, I took the book. I came home. 3-4 days I never read. Fourth day, I was just thinking after my work, should I go out or should I sit down and do some reading? Let me see this new book. I took Prabhupada book. I looked, scanned it. I took one page to see how it is like, what kind of language, what is the subject. There Prabhupada says, all cannot understand Krishna consciousness. When you take the diamonds and throw it in front of a pig will never understand Krishna consciousness. That gave me a slap on my face. Oh my God. I read so many books. I've not read anything like this. Author is so heavy. Then I closed the book and I saw the author picture. Prabhupada did like this. With a green chadar, with a bean bag is like this. I was just staring at him for some time. My God, who is this person? Then I started reading it. Around 9 o'clock, I started reading the book. Whole night I read. Morning 4 o'clock, I finished the book.
The whole Science of Self-Realization in one reading?
One night I finished because I was to read a lot of English novels. It was a hobby for me, So I finished the whole book. Morning 4 o'clock, 4:30, I finished it. Then I started chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. Then I went to work on my motorbike with a crash helmet, chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. When I reached the company, I was so happy. Just chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. I was so happy, not the full month also. Then my friend asked me, did you read the book? I said, I finished it. I finished the book. And I started chanting. What are you chanting? Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. Come on. You should chant the full mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare. Hare Rama, 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 Hare. That one night changed my life.
Jai. And just one night you read the complete Science of Self-Realization and started to chant. Wow. Prabhu, you mentioned about the instance of the diamonds in front of pigs, that they can't realize these gems.
Yeah.
I want to ask you something. We have so many books of Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada wrote, I have 50 volumes of 400 pages. Why is it that we do not have the taste for these diamonds ourselves? Because
Prabhu is the focus. If we do too many things, then we cannot focus on Srila Prabhupada books. Time is, we should have some time to sit down and read Prabhupada books, either in the morning or in the evening.
Yes.
Without Prabhupada books, we cannot become serious in spiritual life. It's not possible. We can hear some lectures, it's okay. As Prabhupada says, when you read my book, when you study my book, I sit next to you and I'll educate you. That is the power of Srila Prabhupada books. I'll sit next to you, I will educate you. So Prabhupada is there. When you take Prabhupada's book, he's there next to us. Prabhupada said that.
Yes.
Yes, Prabhupada one time he told the devotees in London, Prabhupada, why can't you initiate George Harrison? Prabhupada said he's already initiated. How is that, Prabhupada? He's already initiated? Yes. Anybody touches my book, they're initiated in Krishna consciousness. If we study, what will happen? What will happen?
So you mentioned, Prabhu, that when we notice that devotees in ISKCON, although we become initiated, we join this movement, we do so many services, but we don't read, you said it is because of priority. We feel we don't have any time. Now, I can definitely say that you are a very busy, very, very busy devotee. I know the number of responsibilities you have. Do you still find time, Prabhu, in your life to be able to read Prabhupada's books regularly?
Yes, Prabhu. I read at least minimum half an hour a day. Sometimes it goes to 1 hour. Sometimes myself, my wife, we sit down opposite. She'll read one paragraph, I'll read one paragraph. She'll read one paragraph, I'll read one paragraph, and make some notes. She'll explain the points, I'll explain from my side. And we exchange so that there'll be good relationship between us also, with Prabhupada in the center.
When somebody who's as busy as you, with 30 temples, so many zones, so many responsibilities, so many projects you're overseeing, you're able to find the time. Then what do you say to the managers who say, I don't have time? There must be something, right, Prabhu, in this, what I call as sometimes a bogus argument. Because when I joke with somebody about Srila Prabhupada's books, I tell them, Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, I am Kala, I am time. So how is it that a devotee who wants to take shelter of Krishna through the Bhakti Vedanta purports and see him, why would time be an issue? So what will your response be, Prabhu, to such managers and devotees who say, we don't have time?
Prabhu, that's not the right excuse. There is time. Only thing, we should have a timetable. As it's been said in English, you organize or you agonize. Better to
Please say
organize
that again.
than agonize.
Please say that again. Say that again. You either organize
Either
or...
you organize or you agonize. Yes. Agonize.
Yes, agonize.
If you don't organize our life, reading Srila Prabhupada books are so important, like chanting our rounds. 16 rounds is so important. Reading Prabhupada books also is so important for us. But I have got a timetable for myself. I go with a timetable. Then everything is okay. When the timetable is not there, I'm in a mess.
So the two key messages that we heard from you, three actually. One, that how one book changed your life. Two, that despite a very busy schedule, you still read every day. You're a GBC member, you're a temple president, you're so many things, but you read every day, half an hour to 1 hour. And third, that it should be part of our sadhana. Prabhu, I would really like to know that from the time when you picked up the science of self-realization, and it's so many years now, almost 32 years, how did you develop such a strong affection and love for Srila Prabhupada's purports and his books? What was your journey? How did this become avaruddhati? How did it become so strong in your heart? Can you share something with us?
Yeah, Prabhu. Because Prabhupada's purpose was something very special. Very, very special. very deep it is. When you dive into the ocean, on top what you see? Only you see some foam. Some foam you see on the top. Some bubbles you see. As you go deeper into the sea, deeper and deeper, you find some gems. Like that, the same purport, when you read again and again, you'll see so many beautiful principles given by Srila Prabhupada. I can say Prabhupada purpose or Prabhupada conversation are like Veda Vakya. Veda Vakya we say in India, you know that. Veda Vakya, is whatever he has said is a Veda Vakya. Whatever is written is Veda Vakya because it's pure Krishna consciousness in his heart. It's nothing but Srila Prabhupada consciousness. When you start reading Srila Prabhupada consciousness, we try to imbibe that. Little bit, not more, little bit. We try to imbibe that Prabhupada consciousness, Krishna consciousness to our heart. So the purpose are very, very special.
Yes, Prabhu. And Prabhu, there are some devotees who also read, and some of them, believe it or not, they say that, when we read purports, we feel sleepy. We find it boring. There are devotees who come forward, and when we ask them, they say, "Oh, Prabhu, I can't read so much. I find it very difficult to understand." Prabhu, what is the change in attitude? What is the mood that one must have so that the Bhagavatam or the Bhagavad Gita becomes alive for us and it doesn't appear like a mundane thing which becomes boring?
Prabhupada books are not ordinary. One day Prabhupada himself was reading his own book. The devotee walks in, "Prabhupada, you are reading your own book?" "Yes." "You wrote this one. You know everything." "I never wrote this. Krishna wrote this book." So Krishna wrote. Prabhupada is not me. Krishna wrote. So it's Krishna's words, Supreme Lord's words. Whatever the purpose, everything is very special, how to become Krishna consciousness. It has come from the parampara. It has come from the parampara. We have Guru and Parama Guru is Srila Prabhupada. Reading his books are so important, we cannot give any excuse. That's good for me. If I read, it's good for me. I flourish. My consciousness blooms. If I don't read, my consciousness will not bloom. It may shrink. Then I'll not be happy in Krishna consciousness. Because as Krishna says in the Gita, this is Rajavidya, Rajaguhyam, Pavitram, Uttamam, Pratakshavagamam Dharmam, Susukam. It's very joyful. Avivyam is eternal knowledge.
Yes.
Past, present, future, it will be there. For my own welfare, I should read. To help others, I should study.
So the first attitude we should have is we should understand that it is for my own nourishment. That is something that is going to bring some artha to my life. What else, Prabhu? In your experience, was there ever a situation where you felt or had the same sort of a swing in the mood and you did not feel so encouraged? Or if you were counseling others who approached you with the same sort of a mood that we are not able to read, what other tips did you give them? Not about technique, but in terms of change of perception, change of perspective that needs to be done in our bhakti life to become open to Prabhupada's books.
Because we keep telling them in the classes, personally, Prabhu, read. But to my knowledge, the place where I stay, my base is Tirupati. Here, most of the devotees, they read Prabhupada books. And also, I checked with them, what book you're reading. They say, Prabhu, I'm reading Bhagavatam 2nd canto. This morning, I asked one devotee, what you are reading? He said, I'm reading Mukundamala. And as I asked one devotee, what you are reading? I am reading 4th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam. Can you tell me something about that? I'm reading about Prithu Maharaja. Like that, I just keep checking. And also there is slowly getting habituated to read. And also I give many devotees, juniors, to give a class. Give class. So what happens when you give class, you are forced to read. You have to prepare. You have to talk from Prabhupada purpose. That is one thing I tell. Not very juniors. I mean, just Brahmin initiated devotees. I prepare them to give classes. Then they're forced to study Prabhupada books and they give the class. And also for preaching when they go out, they have to preach. So they're forced to read Prabhupada books.
So wonderful, Prabhu. I mean, this is exemplary leadership. So what we learned from your experience in this context is that the leaders must read themselves. Second, that the leaders must inquire in a very personal way from their subordinates or temple members what they're reading. It's so personal, right? If somebody was to come and ask me, I would feel happy. And the third thing you mentioned is encouragement to bring them to come and give some classes so that they prepare. Prabhu, I want you to share with me within your own community what effect this reading of Prabhupada's books has had on the community itself, the temple devotees, the congregation. How does it help in managing the differences, etc., etc.?
Prabhu, from others, if you don't emphasize on Srila Prabhupada books or hearing the classes, then what happens? The community remains Kanishta community. Kanishta community means always, backbiting, conflicts and problems and issues, So we should, by reading Prabhupada books, by hearing his lectures, having respect to Guru and Krishna, to all the Vaishnavas, the community moves forward from Kanishta to Madhyama Adhikari. They go to Madhyama Adhikari, the whole community remains very peaceful. Uttama Adhikari is not in our hands. At least we can try. At least we can push people, help people, come together, study, discuss, at least come to the Madhyama standard. Madhyama also not high level. Kanishta Madhyama, Madhyama Madhyama, Uttama Madhyama. I'm talking about Kanishta Madhyama.
Yes. Yes. So, Prabhu, so far you shared with us that in an individual life, it is nourishment for a personal. Second, you shared with us how in a community, it helps for a leader, for a manager, if they insist, it will also help this service because the community will go from Kanishta to Kanishta Madhyama. Problems will reduce, our headache will reduce. So that's another artha, something valuable for leaders to consider. Because sometimes leaders feel, why to spend so much time, in reading or encouraging? There's so much to be done. But by speaking to you, we're able to see the advantages even for leaders. And in between, you had briefly touched upon one more aspect, which I like to ask you. You touched upon the family, as to how you and Mataji, you study together. You are a Grihastha and householder yourself, Prabhu. And most of the devotees who are now part of ISKCON are generally householders, congregation members. What would you like to share about the positive impact of reading Prabhupada's books in the family together, and how you have seen in your own experience it helping family to remain Krishna conscious and also to increase our consciousness as a family unit? Something that you could share with us on that point, Prabhu?
Oh, thank you, Prabhu. Such nice questions you're asking. So, yes, it's helping me a lot because every Sunday, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I have two daughters. One daughter stays in Hyderabad, one daughter stays in Trivandrum. You see, 3 o'clock is the time. Every Sunday, 3 o'clock, we come together on Zoom. We're taking the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, every week, we read one chapter. That means myself as a senior, I'll read one verse and the purport. Next senior is my wife. She'll read one verse and purport. Then my senior daughter, elder daughter, she'll read one verse and purport. Then my second daughter will read a verse and purport. That way we just finish the chapter. And afterwards, whatever the realizations they have, they can share it. And then we give a chance to my two granddaughters. Two granddaughters I have. I give them a chance. They can share some points. If they cannot share, then one is 3 years old, and one is 6 years old. They can share a point if they know. They do share. They do share. If not, they can sing one small song. They sing a Vaishnava bhajan and close it.
Wow. Wow. What an amazing family bonding experience. I have not come across many devotees who would actually guide their kutumbakam like the way you're doing. And I use the word kutumbakam because it's not just daughters, even your granddaughters. Prabhu, can you share a little bit more about the normal challenges that came in your householder life, taking on so much responsibility for Srila Prabhupada's mission? And some realization or some instances where what Srila Prabhupada's books taught you helped you through those tough times, even as a householder and in a family.
So actually myself, my wife, 2 daughters, they're married and gone. Now just me and my wife. That's all 2 of us. And now we are grandparents. I'm 64 years old.
Yes.
My wife is 54 years old. Okay, one more main thing is we follow Srila Prabhupada's morning program.
Yes.
It's a mandatory in our lives.
Yes.
Attend Mangalarti, attend the full morning program. Take prasadam. She'll attend the morning Mangalarti, and chanting time she'll go home. She'll do our household duties, her household duties. Then I'll be busy in the temple till 3 o'clock. Then my wife will be busy in the school. Of course, there is no school now, pandemic. So she's busy in the house or calling some Matajis. She'll discuss Bhagavatam now with them. She did that for the Purushottam month. There are about 10, 15 Matajis. 3 o'clock, I go back. Then morning prasadam, I'll take with the devotees. Afternoon, evening prasadam, I'll take with my wife. Together, and after taking the prasadam, as I told you, we hear a lecture of Prabhupada or we read Prabhupada books. This way, till now, there's no big conflicts or challenges by Lord's mercy. Sometimes the differences will come, mainly temple management. You will say, today morning for Radha Govinda, the curtain was not changed. I said, I'll tell the HOD, why you never told this morning? You'd have told no. And why the temple hall is dirty. I noticed this morning it was dirty. You're not telling the temple commander. I said, how much I can do? I told him, that's your duty. You should see that it is clean. There sometimes you get the misunderstanding. Personally, nothing.
And these misunderstandings are so sweet because they're all centered around serving Krishna, Shri Radha Govinda and the Ashtasakhi. So beautiful. Prabhu, but what about those years, You mentioned to me that there was a time when you landed. Share with me something about how Srila Prabhupada's books helped you to develop the community in the early years. And what was the contribution of the books in your preaching and establishing the whole Andhra Pradesh Yatra?
Prabhu, in the year 1996, I came to Tirupati, sent by my Guru Maharaj, Jayapataka Swami, and my Shiksha Guru, Bhanu Swami. They sent me to go to Tirupati. I was reluctant to come here. I want to go to my Nellore. Nellore is my wife's place. I'll get a lot of support. I can do some nice service because Prabhupada came there and started something. So I had the desire there. But they told me, no, you should go to Tirupati. So I came to Tirupati. When I came to the small temple, Radha Govinda, no Ashtasakis, only Radha Govinda was there. And there was no money, one brahmachari. There was no money also. Then I was, as a businessman, I thought of distributing cassettes or incense, make some money. But I never had principal amount. Then I called Bombay BBT, then Narmada Swami. I said, Maharaj, I want some books. I said, he asked me for how much? I said 50,000 rupees. I never had 500 rupees in my pocket. 50,000 rupees. He said, no, I can't give 50,000 rupees. I can give for 30,000 rupees. Then I told Maharaj, give for 35,000. He said, okay. But he told me, Revati Raman is a Maharaj. Revati Raman, In 2 months, you should clear it. Then I got first load of books, Prabhupada books. And myself and my wife, Avan Brahmachari, Chaitanya, 3 of us started distributing books in the temple, small temple. As I started distributing books, I tell you something, miracles happened. First day collection was 60 rupees. As I started distributing, it became 300 rupees. I was shocked, 300 rupees. Then it became 500 rupees. Then it became 1,000 rupees. Then it became 2,000 rupees. Then it became 10,000 rupees. Then it became 1 lakh rupees. Then it became 200,000 rupees. Then it became 300,000 rupees. And one devotee came from the north. One devotee came from the south. One devotee came from the east. One devotee came from the west. Devotees started gathering. Money started coming. Started planning for the temple. Miracles happened with Prabhupada books. This is my deep conviction, Prabhu.
Jai Srila Prabhupada. Jai. Jai. This is per day, huh, Prabhu? Starting from 60 rupees per day. That's what was happening?
Yeah, Prabhu.
Wow. Wow. What a strong reciprocation. Isn't it, Prabhu? Such a strong reciprocation from
Yes,
Srila
Prabhu.
Prabhupada and Krishna. And it is often noticed that when we receive such a strong reciprocation from Krishna, then it's impossible to stop. One does not want to stop.
Yeah.
How many temples do you have now, Prabhu?
How many?
How many temples do you have now?
In Andhra Pradesh, we have something like, I can say, including the temples, Namahatas, preaching centers, and exchange centers, around 40, Prabhu.
Jai.
Around 40. In Andaman, Port Blair, we have one.
And they all started from this very foundation. Yes, Prabhuji? From what you just described?
Yeah, Prabhu. Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh. So inspiring. So inspiring. Prabhu, when you find yourself in a situation where some managers are finding it weak in their Krishna conscious practice or in terms of following the principles, what is the approach that you take, and what contribution does Srila Prabhupada's books play in your recommendation to these devotees?
Yeah, Prabhu. Thank you. Every Monday, 11 o'clock, is a must mandatory. All the HODs will gather. We gather. The previous day, 2 days before, the general manager of the temple, Balabhadra Madhava Prabhu, he sends a message. Topic is humility. Topic is how to respect each other. The topic is simplicity. The topic is forgive and forget. So this is a topic that is based on Prabhupada books. All will prepare and come there and we share. This way we are together. There's no management. It's only philosophical discussion. And Wednesday is the HOD meeting, management meeting. Monday is only philosophical discussion. And Tuesday is the core committee meeting, preparation for the HOD main meeting. So like that we have the days to what we have to do every day. We go by that. And I tell the same thing to our people in other temples. Please do this. Come together, read Prabhupada books, there will be peace. Misunderstanding will come, ought to come, Kali Yuga. It's okay, let it come. It will be with Prabhupada and the Vaishnavas.
Yes, yes. And it's been successful. It's been quite successful in terms of the growth and everything else, and keeping devotees together all these many years. Prabhu, in terms of Prabhupada's books, are there any special sections of Srila Prabhupada's purports or books that are close to your heart?
Yeah, one purport I cannot forget. That is Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter. Nasti buddhira yuktasya achantasya bhavana. Acha bhavanti shanti ashantasya kutasupam. Lord Krishna says, hey, somebody is not connected to me. they're denied of two things. They'll not have study mind and they'll not have transcendental intelligence. Without these two, they'll not have peace of mind. Without peace of mind, how they can be happy? They're the purpose. In the purpose, Srila Prabhupada says, if you want to be happy in your life, you should have ultimate goal. Ultimate goal is Krishna consciousness. Goals can change, but ultimate goal cannot change. Prabhupada says, I may have some goal. I want to achieve this. I want to achieve that. Different people have different goals. But one ultimate goal for everybody is Krishna.
Yes.
How to have Krishna with me. Yes. Krishna service. Krishna prema. That's the ultimate goal. Prabhupada mentions that always I carry in my heart. Ultimate goal in my life is Krishna consciousness.
Yes. Yes, Prabhu. Such a beautiful purport. And just that one purport, as Srila Prabhupada said in my books, one verse, one purport can change our lives just by meditating on them. And yes, so powerful are his words. Every purport is so powerful. Thank you for sharing that, Prabhu. Prabhu, I wanted to ask you that nowadays in ISKCON, we find so many books. So many books are coming out. So many books are there on the bookstall. And sometimes we are approached with this question that, Prabhu, I am being told that I should read so-and-so book, and Prabhupada books I can read later on. What should we advise if these thoughts start coming in ISKCON, that Prabhupada's books are for later on, better to just read this book or that book? How would you respond to such a mood within the society? And what will be your advice?
See, Prabhu, no doubt there's so many authors now, so many Prabhupada disciples are writing so many books and it's coming out. We appreciate that. I also read those books. I read and enjoy. But the priority is given to Prabhupada books. Because Prabhupada books is life. It changed my life. It changed my life. It's changing people's lives. These things can be additional. We can get some knowledge and all. But mainly Prabhupada books. We appreciate these books also. But the priority should be given to Prabhupada books than these books.
Yes.
No second thoughts.
No second thoughts. Yes. Prabhu, we are hearing for several years, the two words are very commonly used, that Srila Prabhupada is our founder Acharya. And also we hear in management circles, Srila Prabhupada is the preeminent Siksha Guru of ISKCON. So it is one thing to say these words, but how do we implement this? How do we implement and make Srila Prabhupada the preeminent Siksha Guru and founder Acharya with respect to his Siksha?
It all depends upon, yeah, Prabhu. It all depends upon the leaders. How much they are attached to Srila Prabhupada. That happens when we read his books. When we read Srila Prabhupada books, we understand. I just ask myself, without Prabhupada, what I would have been? By this time, outside means I would have retired, old man, retired and sitting somewhere and biting my fingers. But because of Srila Prabhupada, even today, at this age, I'm so active, so much to do, so much to do. So that naturally I should be grateful to Srila Prabhupada and to my Guru and to the Vaishnavas who helped me. I should be grateful. And I'm happy. Everybody should have this, because without Prabhupada, what is this movement? Where is this movement?
Yes.
There's no movement. All of it are, people of my age will be sitting in the house. Everybody shouting at you.
Instead of biting fingers, we'll be biting each other's heads. Also, sometimes if you're not reading Prabhupada's books.
Yeah.
That's what happens, Prabhu. In a household, when people retire, they get on each other's case, as they say it, and trouble each other so much. In fact, the joke is that amongst devotees, in outside people, they're afraid of retirement, and devotees are looking forward to retirement because they can give more and more time to reading Prabhupada's books, doing some service.
Exactly.
Prabhu, I've also wanted to ask you the role of other limbs of bhakti and our sadhana in allowing us to understand and absorb Srila Prabhupada's books. Because you referred to about Mangalarti, morning sadhana. Can you share something about the role of other limbs of bhakti to make sure that we read nicely and understand something and elevate our consciousness?
Prabhu, every day I hear one lecture. I hear one lecture of Prabhupada.
Yes.
It's a must. One lecture of Prabhupada I hear, and also I do, and also tell the devotees, whenever they read Prabhupada books, just don't read, don't study, make notes. Like I have a book here, you can see. I got a book here written. It's all Prabhupada books only. I got books like this, something 200 books I have.
Wow.
Whenever I read, I finished 200 books like this. A small scribbling pad. Whenever I read, make notes. When I hear a lecture, I make notes. Otherwise, I'll not hear, I'll not read, I'll not study. I tell the same thing to our boys also. Please do that. That will help you. So we focus more, and it's a meditation. We can contemplate, and I got points to preach.
Yes, Prabhu. Prabhu, so I want to ask the question again, which is the role of our sadhana, like honoring Krishna Prasad, getting up in the morning, going for Mangalarti, taking darshan of the deities, keeping good association. How do these activities help us in actually understanding Srila Prabhupada's books and elevating our consciousness? Because there are some devotees or members of ISKCON who are not able to understand the books, and they're not even doing these activities. So is there any relationship between other activities? It's almost like a rhetorical question, but I want to hear from you and your experience, how they all come together to help to open our consciousness.
Wonderful question. Yes, it's very much related. It's very much related. By reading Srila Prabhupada books, our sadhana will be good. By doing good sadhana, we can focus properly on Prabhupada books. We don't read Srila Prabhupada books and there's no sadhana, it's out. It's very difficult to be in Krishna consciousness. I may be having the outside form of a devotee, but the consciousness will be totally different, and will be so much pain in the heart, so much suffering. You see, the true emotion will dominate us. By doing our bhajan and by reading Prabhupada books, at least we can come to the mode of goodness. We can do things in the mode of goodness. Otherwise, in the passion, and we'll be doing the ignorance, and so much problems will cause for ourselves, not only to me, to others as well, to the community as well. This is my experience. Poor is very poor in sadhana, not serious, he'll be suffering, and will give the same suffering he'll give to others also.
Yes.
Very much needed. Very much.
You mentioned earlier on, agnosticism. Agnostic. People become agnostic if they don't do it properly.
Yes.
Prabhu, is there any last message that you want to give to ISKCON devotees, leaders, common members, with respect to inspiring us to read Srila Prabhupada's books every day?
I heard this. Once it seems Srila Prabhupada gave a class on 12 Mahajanas. After the class, one devotee got up and said, Prabhupada, thank you very much. You have such a nice class on Mahajanas. Prabhupada, you are the 13th Mahajana. Prabhupada looked at him and he said, you are the 14th Mahajana. So how one can become Mahajana? And Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, anybody who follows the principles given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they're all Mahajanas. Mahajanas are not limited to 12 people. Now, those who follow Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they'll all become Mahajanas, no doubt about it. There's no other process. We got to follow Mahajana Yenagata Sapantaha. Unless we follow a Mahajana, Srila Prabhupada, it's not possible for us to become Mahajana. I will be Jana, ordinary Jana, suffering Jana. You see, our goal should be very clear. I want to become Mahajana. I want to become a pure devotee. As Srila Prabhupada says, you can become a pure devotee as long as you follow a pure devotee. As long as you're not a pure devotee, but as long as you're following a pure devotee, you're a pure devotee. The moment you stop following a pure devotee, you're not a pure devotee. You're a devotee. So we follow Srila Prabhupada and his disciples and try to become a pure devotee, remain as a pure devotee, as long as we follow them. If you don't follow, we fall down.
Beautiful, beautiful, Prabhu. We fall in the category of Kripanas and Durjanas. As Govindadas Kaviraj said, immediately fall in that category. Prabhu, one more question before we... In our classes in ISKCON, in our prachar in ISKCON, etc., in Bhagavatam classes, etc., when we start seeing that devotees are speaking less and less from Prabhupada's purports and speaking more and more on other topics, and sometimes, calling upon so many other writings, etc., but very little on the purports itself. What do you do in such circumstances? What is your recommendation? I mean, what will happen to ISKCON if we pay less attention to the purport? Because I don't know what your observation is, but some devotees have raised this point. They asked this question, that we're seeing that on the Vyasasana, less and less focus is on the purports. Your observation and recommendation, Prabhu, in this regard?
Because Prabhupada's purpose are so important, you see. What I do, you see, go to Veda base or Gita base. There, take a sloka, every word in a sloka, there's so much explanation given by Srila Prabhupada. In so many places, in so many books, so much reference is there. Why we have to look for elsewhere? If it is not there, you go, nothing wrong in it. When so many analogies are there, so many conversations are there, so many explanations are there, I don't understand why we have to go everywhere. Then what will happen? Then we will not be empowered. We become weak. We become weak. When you stick to Srila Prabhupada, his purpose, his explanations, his conversations, his disciples' explanations, their conversations, wonderful. Something coming to Srila Prabhupada. Everything is fine.
Yes. And we really, is there something we can do, Prabhu, as a society to encourage devotees when they're speaking and giving classes to also do the same? What do you do when you are in a situation like this where the speaker is going all over the place and not on Prabhupada's books? What do you do in such a circumstance?
Either my subordinates, I'll call them and talk to them. If you want to become a strong devotee, you want to make devotees, then do this. With other things, you can fascinate the crowd, but you can never make devotees. If you want to make devotees, is Prabhupada knowledge, what he has given. Wow. Without Prabhupada books, without his knowledge, we cannot make devotees. We can fascinate the crowd.
Nice point. Such a nice
Many things
point.
we can tell.
Yes. We can fascinate everybody, but then we'll be in the fancy world, but not in spiritual world. For a heart change, for the change of heart, as you said, we have to imbibe Prabhupada's instructions. Prabhu, it is so inspiring to hear from you today. As I said at the beginning of our discussion, where you are right now in the Holy Dham and hearing you speak, it's been a wonderful session. And we learned so much today with respect to the focus of reading Prabhupada's books. Personal life, family life, community life, managerial services, and most importantly, that our complete identity, in the last you said, our identity of a devotee or a pure devotee is as long as we hear from His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so very much. On behalf of the ministry and all the devotees who are watching.
Thank you, Prabhu.
We are grateful to you for your inspiration as a leader who has given his life for Srila Prabhupada's books and continues to guide on that basis. I hope, Prabhu, you'll give us another opportunity again to share more about the pleasure and the gems of reading Srila Prabhupada's books.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. All the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and his transcendental books.
Jai, Hare Bol. Tapan Prabhu, thank you so much again and again. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare